Today, Tampa got hit by a tropical storm. It was nothing huge or anything, it was mainly a glancing blow. It missed us for the most part. But I have no doubt that the gods thought that that'd be enough to keep me off the bowling lanes today, which is just embarrassingly foolish, because they should know. The only storm I believe in is this one right here. 48 pounds of pure tungsten, testosterone, and wet dreams that I launched down the bowling lanes like a fucking asteroid. So, I got a new bowling ball. And it's actually got a little bit of lore behind it. I paid a visit to the lanes where I misplaced my rhino, and it passed on to the other side. It went straight to Valhalla and hasn't been seen since, God rest its soul. But I decided to ask if there was any chance of recovering it, like maybe it'd been misplaced, in the lost and found or something. It's been many months since I'd been back. And they said that no, it's not there anymore, but they bestowed upon me a gift, which was that Red Storm bowling ball right there. I don't know who the previous owner was, but I'm going to try and do them proud. It could be Pete Weber's previous bowling ball. Who do you think you are? I am. But anyway, I now have a hammer and a storm, so I'm basically just Thor out here. I've got two bowling balls, and I decided to break them both in on the lane today to see how they felt. Tropical storm be damned, I've got work to do chasing the perfect game, so here I am going with the storm here, just trying to figure out its quirks. And let me tell you, that puppy hooks left more than my penis. That bad boy just really rips across the lane. Like, I wasn't even putting a whole lot of spin on it. And that would just cut from right to left, like a fucking Star Wars transition screen. But anyway, picked up an easy strike to kick us off here. And immediately just trying to get accustomed to it. So here comes another one, as you can see, kind of more straight. I tried to even take some off, and I still got another Brooklyn for the double. So it's just kind of a learning process right now, figuring out how it reacts to the oil here. And let me tell you, it reacts harder than I do to eating a hot pepper. The reaction to it is just spastic. It's chaotic. So that's something I've got to get used to. But I do like it. I like the way that it hooks super hard. It makes it feel like a bucking bronco that you've got to tame. And then all of a sudden I just threw a fucking wet noodle down there, which was terrible. Now the chess master faces his most difficult obstacle yet, a pretty tough split. But I've picked these up before. Sometimes I'm good for it. And as Carl Wheezer says, "Are you going to finish that croissant?" And my answer is resounding, "Of course I am, Carl." I'm actually just pulling your chain. It's a field goal. Straight down the middle, it's good. So, my perfect game's already ruined here. I can't even really get a great game anymore because now I'm left with an empty frame, which is the shame of all bowlers looking for a perfect game. A couple more bad throws later, and I eventually break the stinker streak by finding the groove again. So I think the technique for this ball in my hands is throwing it a little further out to the right than I'm used to and just letting the ball do a little bit more of the work down there so it hooks a bit harder. So it's something that I've got to dial in on, it's advanced calculations, finding the angle of azimuth, all of that, of course you know how it goes. But I'm entering into my flow state here, my third eye starts to open, I'm seeing the lines, the threads that hold the universe together. Another beautiful ball right there. Me and the storm are like peanut butter and jelly right now. That 10 pin really wanted to stand up, but I put the fear of God in it, so it said, alright, enough was enough, and it fell to the floor, it laid over. Which I appreciate, it went belly up. Looking for a turkey here to finish this game off, but I gotta be honest with you sports fans, it just wasn't in the card for game one here. I line up for another perfect textbook strike, but unfortunately I held onto the ball a little too long and just threw a goddamn urinal cake down there, unfortunately. And for those that don't know, I'm actually automatic when it comes to spares. So my spare game is second to none. I just don't want spares, I'd rather just all strikes, you know what I mean? If you're not first, you're last. So I'd rather just get nothing but strikes and not have to rely on getting spares. But when the time comes, I can get them. Now the next game I was using my blue hammer to really give that puppy a whirl. And this one just does not cut nearly as hard as the storm. So this is a little bit more what I'm used to here. So that felt good right away. We immediately started sharing the neural load together. We were fucking drifting. So the blue hammer, feeling pretty good. And this game was dedicated to my rhino, which, I lost, unfortunately, but, I'm sure they gave it a Viking burial somewhere, and hopefully I'll get the cremated ashes at some point and I can put them on my wall. So immediately getting a double with the blue hammer, things just feel right. But I'm trying to get used to both the blue hammer and the storm, because I do think both can serve a very specific purpose. And right now, the hammer's purpose is getting a fucking beautiful perfect game. So lining up for a turkey here, this is business as usual. And you know I'm good for it. That's 3 for 3. A little Brooklyn to close her out there for the turkey. Feels nice. I'm jacking into the main frame here, staring down the quad, and I'm in a good groove right now. So I'm pretty confident about it, but it's not perfect. Like, I'm not throwing it as hard as I'd like. Like, I'm not launching the lumber the way that I usually like to. I like to aim for like 14 to 15 miles per hour, but right now I'm going about 13-ish. So it's a little too slow here, and it didn't cut nearly enough for that one, unfortunately, so I missed the quad. I then started to tilt a little bit, unfortunately, but my spare game is really optimized, so I've been really practicing hard on this reverse spin here for like the 10-pin, and even in this split situation, I was able to pick it up pretty seamlessly there. So I've really dialed into that, which is nice, but again, I'd rather just be getting all strikes. It does look cool, though. You can't tell me that it doesn't look cool with that reverse spin. I try and get back on the saddle here, and that feels pretty good. And it is pretty good. A few frames of ass eating later, and I'm faced with yet another split, and once again, I'm just kind of nice with it. So pick that puppy up, no problem whatsoever. I then started to go on this fucking flood of 9s, so I kept hitting it pretty much where I want it down the lane, but just ending up with this 10-pin for the most part. But I'd just like to showcase my ability to pick these up now thanks to mastering the reverse spin. It just feels much better. Like, I know that's probably not the optimal way of picking up the 10-pin or really any pins on that side of the lane, but for me, it just feels better taking a light ball, an 8-pounder house ball, and reverse spinning it, just giving that puppy the old what for. I also tried a two-handed technique there you might have caught. I just don't really like the feel of two-hand, so it's just not for me. I just wanted to give it a whirl. But once again, faced with a pin on the right side here, so I give it the old reverse-a-roo, and it's no problem whatsoever. Like a heat-seeking missile, baby. I'm just going to go ahead and let the other frames ride out here, even though there's nothing super impressive about my throws. This was me trying out the two-handed technique and getting nothing but 9s, and picking it up with reverse spin every time. So this is kind of a showcase of the reverse spin more so than anything. The two-hand is nothing special for me. There's really nothing glorious about that, but I really am kind of proud about my reverse mastery here. It's pretty cool. I'm hitting him with that goddamn reverse curse technique, to be honest. Like, it feels good. So, I mean, just look at that. It looks so cool. Bang! And now I know you're wondering, does it work when there's more than one pin cowering in fear on the right side of the lane? And the answer is yes. Of course it does. It works in all types of terrain. Even during a tropical storm, I can pick that shit up no problem with the reverse spin. I have gotten extremely consistent with that. I am putting more fucking spin on that ball than the wind outside during the tropical storm. But it really is sad though, because this game I think could have been a banger, but it was nothing but 9s. Nothing but 9s and then 1-8. But it was all spares, so it still ended up being a pretty decent score. But I'm not bowling for a decent score, I'm bowling for a perfect game, you know what I mean? But it's still a thing of beauty here, hitting these reverse spins on every single fucking spare pickup. By the fourth game, I started getting desperate, because the best I was doing was turkey. I wasn't getting more than 3 strikes in a row. And you know how when you start to get on tilt, you start changing your form, like in basketball, when your shots aren't hitting, like your 3-point shots off, you start making little adjustments? Well, that's what I started to do. So I started doing like little gallop throws. Like I was basically doing Happy Gilmore bowling for a little bit, and I really didn't hate it. Like, it felt pretty decent. Like, my left leg was getting tired from planning so hard, so I was trying to do things to take some of the pressure off by doing, like, little gallops and little hops up to it. And it was kind of working. Like, the hammer was flying down the lane there, so I was hitting, like, the 15, 14 mile per hour mark, and it was just blowing those pins up. It was like a cannonball getting shot down the lane. It looks very silly. Like, you'll never see a professional bowler use this kind of tactic, this technique, but I mean, it was kind of working. Like, it really wasn't horrible. I then went to another interesting technique where I tried to get, like, much lower and kind of snipe at it a little bit. Like, almost taking, like, a knee while throwing it over there, like doing a fucking lunge. And that didn't feel nearly as good. But then it led to this, which was kind of a stylish pickup. Again, this isn't, like, a crazy split to pick up, but it just looks so cool when you do. Just look at that, threading the needle right down the middle, down the barrel right there, through the fucking gullet. That just looks like a really stylish pickup there on a very small split. But yeah, like I said, this like lunge sniper technique wasn't like my best work, but it wasn't horrible either. Like, I was still able to get some strikes with it. But I don't think that's going to be my go-to strategy for a perfect game. Like, this really was just because my left leg was starting to get fatigued and I was really looking for alternate throwing styles here. So I'm trying all types of, you know, different martial arts disciplines here to take some of the pressure off. Which is kind of shocking because when I was bowling more often, like 5 or 6 months ago, my leg never hurt. But now I turn 30 and all of a sudden things that didn't hurt immediately start hurting. So now I'm getting fucking bowling injuries, which is crazy. Like, getting older is awful. Just actually withering away, it's a horrible feeling. Like, even bowling is starting to be somewhat painful for me. But yeah, anyway, that's where the strike streak stops right there with the sniper technique. Overall, I didn't have any extraordinary games or anything like that. My spares have become really good. Like, I don't usually miss a spare unless I have, like, a really tough split. But, man, I am just not stringing together a lot of strikes at the moment, unfortunately. So I'm still pretty far away from the perfect game, but today was mainly just working the bugs out with the new bowling balls here to really get a feel for them. So I guess I couldn't have expected like a crazy fucking day out of it or anything, but it was still fun to go bowling during a tropical storm. That felt pretty hardcore. So yeah, that's about it. So yeah.